Your latest creation is flying off the shelves, but do you need a sales tax permit for that weekend pop-up? And when does shipping your product to another state trigger economic nexus? In this episode, we decode sales taxes for creative professionals and why these trust fund taxes can't be ignored.
Your creative genius deserves the same precision behind the numbers.
Welcome to Let's Get Fiscal, hosted by Anastasia, Maisha, and Danielle.
Part of the women-led team at Coterie Tax.
From smart tax moves to cash flow strategy,
We decode everything it takes to run a thriving creative business.
So you can scale with confidence and sleep easy at night.
Press play and let's grow your business.
welcome back to the Let's Get Fiscal podcast. I'm Maisha and my co-host Anastasia is here. And today we are going to be talking about
sales tax.
So fun.
So in our firm, we really support the business through all cycles and do all kinds of things. So sales taxes are a big thing that we deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they can be pretty annoying.
Yeah.
Especially if you are using a Shopify account, shipping nationwide or worldwide, or considering it, wondering what you need to do. We like to have some different conversations about sales taxes.
Yeah. So I guess to start off with, who all has to do sales tax? When do you know if you need to do it?
So sales taxes come into play most of the time when you are selling a physical product.
Okay.
So you do still have to be a little bit careful about what the rules are for each individual state, or like I said, if you're shipping worldwide, different countries have different rules, because there's some situations where if you give them a PDF that they can download, that might be taxable. But at least in this situation, we'll talk about if you just decide to ship coffee mugs or books, an actual physical item.
Okay. Yep. Okay, cool.
So a lot of times when you decide to sell a physical item, you originally have a physical nexus wherever you or your team members work.
Okay.
So if you have your inventory stored with somebody who's drop shipping and they fulfill all of the orders for you and send them out, you may have a physical nexus there.
Okay.
If you have an employee that's working in a different state, most likely are going to have a physical nexus there.
Okay.
So when we talk about sales tax nexus, a lot of times they're going to be referring to the physical portion of where are you exactly.
Yeah.
And even sometimes we have to think about photographers. Photographers have the ability to provide a physical item, be it a print or a flash drive with your pictures or an album. So a lot of times photographers still have to have,
because it's not really just service-based. It's you are giving something at the end of it. Okay.
And I normally recommend too, if you're a photographer, just have that. And it's easier to report all of your income and then say, it was all services because I don't provide prints, because, I have them go over to a partner where I make commission off of or what have you. So I'm not actually physically providing any prints. It's all services. And then that way you don't have to worry about going through an audit where then they're asking you to prove all of that information because you've already consistently...
You're being preemptive. Okay. Being hey, I will not need to do this. And you're just letting the state know. Okay.
So there are other situations where, because you're in an industry that has the ability to provide something physical, you may need to look up the sales tax in your area.
So I am familiar with the physical nexus, but I have been seeing stuff about economic nexus. Can you talk a little bit about what does that mean?
So normally when you are shipping product, so let's say the company is based in California.
Yeah.
Any of the product that's going to ship in California, you're going to tax because that's where your physical nexus is.
Yeah.
But if you ship an item to Georgia, you don't have an office there. You don't have employees. You don't have anything out there.
Yep.
So you don't have to charge and collect Georgia sales tax.
Okay.
So what an economic nexus is, it's if you have sold a certain amount, so either a certain number of orders or an actual dollar amount of product, then the state is going to expect you to start collecting and remitting sales tax. So it makes the burden a lot easier for small businesses. So if you're, like I said, just shipping mugs and you're making maybe $40,000.
But like the Nexus is like, you have to make 100 before.
Right. And you don't have to sign up to remit sales taxes in every single one of the states, because that can be just a paperwork nightmare. Trying to ship in all of those states. So they're really waiting for you to become a large enough business that you would be able to operationally handle all of that additional paperwork.
Got you.
Kind of incentivizing people to ship throughout the country. A lot of the other countries outside, all around the world have similar requirements. So like in the UK and the EU, it's 10,000 euros or pounds. That, if you're shipping under that dollar amount, then you most likely don't need to worry about that. So, but once you start selling quite a bit in any of these states, then you do need to register, because technically you are doing a lot of business in that state. So they're going to consider you as doing business there.
Gotcha.
So you'll have to register. You'll say you have an economic nexus there because your sales, and then you would need to continue filing and collecting sales taxes in those states.
Okay, cool. So it's more so just making sure you are periodically checking, keeping track of like, hey, sales per state or wherever it is, like where are we at for those? Like, and then kind of just, no, that makes sense. So that way you can kind of know when you're encroaching onto that and when you'll need to set that up.
Right. And I like to do a quarterly review. I know Stripe, TaxJar, they'll all warn you when you're getting close to those items.
That's nice,
At least once every 3 months, checking and making sure that you haven't reached or you're not close to an economic nexus. A lot of the states will consider it within the calendar year or the prior calendar year. So if you're checking every 3 months, then you have a little leeway to be able to figure out, okay, who do I know that can file a sales tax return in Alabama?
No, that makes sense.
And again, like I said, especially if you're using one of these website builders like Shopify links into TaxJar. There's also
so there are
like
softwares out there that'll help.
There's a lot of other softwares, and sometimes they can be costly because let's say one of them, it charges you $300-400 to set up the registration in the state, and then they charge you another $50 to $100 every time they need to file. But again, at the same time, if you're not in compliance, that's going to
get you with them fees.
More. And also, if you're filing incorrectly, inconsistently, a lot of the issue with sales tax is it's considered one of the trust fund taxes.
Okay.
So when you create an invoice and you tell a client, this is sales tax, you're actually just holding their money. So you're saying, I'm collecting this money from you, and I'm going to give it to your state so that they can use it for those state-funded programs, right? So if you don't take that money and give it to the state like you promised your client that you would, the state is going to be very upset. It's going to be a misappropriation of funds.
Got you. No, that makes sense.
So even if you collect the sales tax, you didn't need to, you either need to refund it to the client or you need to send it off to the state. You cannot keep sales tax funds.
No, that seems fair.
So that's why it's, if you say that you have an economic nexus in Georgia, you're collecting sales taxes in Georgia, you have to file those returns and send that money to Georgia because it is a trust fund tax. And there can be, in some states, criminal penalties. They can charge you 200% of the fee.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there are definitely some big issues with that. There are voluntary disclosure programs. So if you have been collecting sales taxes and you haven't been remitting it, but the company doesn't have enough cash flow to pay for it, or maybe you were not aware of your requirement to, there are programs where you're able to come forward to the state and say, I have been made aware of this.
Yeah.
This is my situation. And they will kind of, work out a deal with you. And normally those are beneficial because they can help remove some of those criminal penalties that they attach to it.
Oh, there's criminal penalties as well.
Yes,
okay.
yes,
Okay. Yeah. Like they get very upset. All right. No, that makes sense. So I guess the thing is like, Etsy's really big. People love to sell products that they've handmade and everything like that on Etsy. Is it just a matter of just knowing your software that you're using to see if it will do the things like remit your sales tax and just, okay.
Right. Because Etsy is a really great example because they're going to collect the sales taxes and you can see it on your orders that they're collecting the sales taxes, but they're not putting that money into your bank account.
Nice. So the responsibility is a little less on?
So the responsibility goes to Etsy.
Okay,
and
cool.
So Etsy and Amazon are marketplace facilitators. So in a lot of cases, we claim the income, but then we claim a deduction and saying that this income is exempt from sales taxes because it was made through a marketplace facilitator. So they collected the sales tax and they remitted it because we had this issue a lot with Amazon. When you have a physical product and you give it to the Amazon warehouse for them to fulfill the orders, they can take it wherever they want. And it's very, very difficult to sometimes see where they're going because they can transfer it from one warehouse to another. So you have to really heavily track which warehouse that you have this product in. And if you had to file a sales tax return everywhere you have product, but you also have no control over where that product is and where it's going to go, it becomes very, very difficult.
Yeah, that sounds like a nightmare. Right. Yeah.
So that's why, there's a big case with Wayfair. And that's where a lot of these ideas of the economic nexus, where they said, okay, there should be at least a minimum amount that you can sell without having to do all of this work. And then also, if you're working with one of these larger companies where they have a lot of control over the sales and where things are going, they should be the ones that are filing with all 50 states instead of you having to have all of these different sales tax filings. And 90% of the time, they're going to be $0 or for $5 or something like that.
Okay. So that makes
that's
sense.
Really where that large case with Wayfair kind of came into play.
Yeah.
And that's why some of the companies like Amazon and Etsy, they'll collect the sales tax for you and then they will remit it as part of their own sales tax filing.
No, that's super cool. So just being aware of what your software or what you're selling through can do or can't do so that you're keeping sure that you're keeping yourself in compliance.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Are you using a marketplace facilitator to be able to help you, or are you using something else? And even if you have a marketplace facilitator, you should still have a sales tax permit in your area. So
like a license for, okay.
Yeah, they call it a seller's permit. So you should still have one of those on file for the same type of reason. You can claim all of your income and then claim the exemption that it's all through a marketplace facilitator, and then you can move forward. Because at the end of the day, the state just sees that you have a business and they see what your business does, but they don't necessarily know all of the nuance of it. So that's you self-reporting all of those activities to the state so that they don't have to come and find you.
No, come and find you. No, that makes complete sense.
The states,
I know. Yeah, they get real deep with it. They send you a lot of nasty letters. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
All right. Cool. So like to just like summarize that, if you have like a marketplace, you still need to have like a permit where you are, so that way you can kind of just let them know, like, hey, I am selling these things, but it is being handled elsewhere. So all else fails, you should have a permit, and then keeping track, if you aren't part of a marketplace, of where you are with where you're selling your product for the Nexus to like see if you ever reach economic Nexus for that. Okay, cool. I like it. Right. Are there any things that like people should keep in mind at like year end when it comes to sales tax, or anything out of the...
I mean, a lot of times sales taxes become a quarterly issue.
Okay.
Because say states want their money a lot faster.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to wait.
Yeah.
So you may get an annual return, but a lot of times the sales tax filings, they can be weird dates.
Okay.
So they're not necessarily always a predictable cadence. So it is predictable for that one state, but you have to remember every single state is going to have their different rules. So for example, New York, their quarterly returns are due on the last month of that quarter. So in
that's
February and June and September, instead of waiting for February to be over and filing in April. You know, and so in California, it's due on the last day of the month. In Arizona, it's due on the 20th. So
just being aware. Yeah.
Right. We are dealing, that's part of, you know, the United States of America. Each state has the ability to make their own rules, and they do. So just being aware of that. And then also asking yourself, do you want to ship worldwide? Because you already have issues with the 50 states within the United States.
Why not add some other countries to it?
Right.
Yeah.
When you have to file and remit taxes to Turkey or Brazil, you know, you have to really be careful when you're filing out of the country. So normally those are situations where I recommend that they work with a partner because while a person within the United States could fill out the application for the VAT in the UK, it's a relatively straightforward process. If there's any errors and you have to go back and forth, and then sometimes they're in other languages, it's really just worthwhile to pay someone who's in that area to be able
just
to handle that for you.
Yeah, that's not even taking into like the currency difference of there's like a whole thing there. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So having someone in that country is probably the best bet for like making sure it's done correctly.
Yeah. So when you are considering selling a product, you also need to consider the operational costs of selling these items all throughout the country. And like I said, in the initial phases, it's really just going to be in your area because you're waiting until you hit economic nexus in all of those other states. But just know that that is going to be coming, and that's something that you have to plan for and think ahead. And like I said, the states will come after you for it.
You will eventually know.
And I think the biggest rule that I have is if you collect it, you have to remit it. You cannot keep sales tax funds at all for any reason.
That makes sense.
Being very careful that if you say you're going to collect, if you say that it's sales tax, you say that you're going to send it to the state, you do need to make sure that you are sending it to the state. That's not free money.
That's
not free money.
Make it very clear. It's not free money.
Even if you're not currently registered there, you need to get yourself registered and send it out.
Okay. No, that makes sense.
So that is a little bit about sales taxes, some of the considerations that you should take into account if you decide to ship a product nationwide, and some of the different items that you should be aware of. So if you have any questions, feel free to put a comment below or send us an email, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Bye, guys.
That's a wrap on Let's Get Fiscal. Ready to stop guessing and start saving? Click the link in the show notes, grab your console, and let's make your business work for you, not the other way around. You've got this.